Rain hammered the tin roof and wind howled through the trees when the knock came. It wasn't the kind of gentle knock you expect from a neighbor. It was fast, desperate, like someone's life depended on it. Thandiwe froze. No one visited her this late, not in Mabuto Hills, not in the middle of a storm. She wrapped her shawl tighter and went to the door, her heart thudding in her ears. When she opened it, the sight made her breath catch. Zanele. The same Zanele she hadn't seen or spoken to in a year. Her face was ghost pale, her lips split, her hair wet and stuck to her cheeks. She was shaking all over. In her hands she clutched a scarf, deep red, the colour of fresh blood. It dripped onto the doorstep. "Zanele," Thandiwe whispered, but before she could ask more, Zanele stumbled forward, almost collapsing into her arms. "Please!" Zanele's voice was cracked and trembling, her eyes darting toward the dark road behind her. "Please don't ask. Don't let anyone know I'm here. If they find me, it's over." The weight of her words sent a chill down Thandiwe's spine. She could feel Zanele's heart racing against her own chest. The storm outside roared, but inside, the silence between them was heavier than thunder. 100 questions burned in Thandiwe's mind, but one thing was clear. Whatever had happened, whatever had brought Zanele to her door tonight, it was dangerous, deadly dangerous. Thandiwe could feel Zanele's body trembling in her arms. She was soaked through, her clothes clinging to her like a second skin, and her breathing came in short, sharp gasps. "Please," Zanele whispered, her voice breaking on the word. "No one can know I'm here. If they find me, it's over." Her head turned slightly, her eyes scanning the darkness outside as if she expected someone to leap out at any moment. Thandiwe felt her own stomach twist. She pulled Zanele inside quickly and shut the door, sliding the bolt into place. The wind rattled the windows, and the rain hammered against the roof, but inside it was only the sound of their heavy breathing. Zanele's hair dripped water onto the floor, leaving small puddles, but she didn't seem to notice. Her eyes kept darting toward the door, the windows, the corners of the room, anywhere someone could be hiding. "Zanele," Thandiwe said, trying to keep her voice calm. "What's going on? Who's after you?" Zanele shook her head violently. "I can't tell you. Not now. It's too dangerous. You show up here in the middle of the night, bleeding, carrying, whatever that scarf is, and you want me not to ask." Thandiwe's voice rose, fear and frustration mixing together. Zanele grabbed her arm, her nails digging in. "Thandi, please, you have to trust me. If they find me, they will kill me. And if they know you're helping me, they will kill you too." Her voice cracked on the last word, and her eyes filled with tears. The words hung between them like smoke, thick and choking. Thandiwe stared at her friend, the friend she had once shared secrets and dreams with, the same friend she had cut off a year ago without explanation. And now here she was, looking more broken than Thandiwe had ever seen her. Without another word, Thandiwe took Zanele's hand and led her to the back room. It was small, barely big enough for a bed and a chair, but it was the warmest part of the house. She pulled a blanket from the cupboard and wrapped it around Zanele's shoulders. Zanele sat on the edge of the bed, her shoulders hunched, staring at the scarf in her lap. The red stains looked darker in the dim light, and Thandiwe felt a cold shiver run down her spine just looking at it. "That blood," she started to say, but Zanele shook her head. "Don't ask. Please." "Not yet," she whispered. Thandiwe wanted to scream. She wanted to shake her friend until she explained everything, but something in Zanele's eyes, the sheer panic, the kind that comes from knowing something too big, too dangerous, kept her quiet. "I'll make you some tea," Thandiwe finally said, needing to do something, anything, to break the tension. She left the room and went to the kitchen, her mind racing. Who were they? What had Zanele gotten herself into? And why, after all this time, had she come here to her? From the kitchen, she could hear Zanele moving restlessly, the creak of the bed springs as she shifted, the sound of her pacing the small floor. Every now and then, Thandiwe thought she heard something else, a faint rustle outside like footsteps on wet grass. She told herself it was just the storm, but her hands shook as she poured the tea. When she came back, Zanele was sitting perfectly still, her hands wrapped tightly around the scarf. She took the cup without a word, her fingers brushing Thandiwe's for just a moment. They were ice cold. "I can't stay here long," Zanele said finally, her voice barely more than a breath. "They're watching. They always watch. I just need a little time to figure out what to do next." Thandiwe wanted to tell her to leave, to take her danger and her secrets and go, but the words wouldn't come. No matter what had happened between them, she couldn't throw her out into the storm, not when she looked like this. "Then you can stay tonight," Thandiwe said quietly, "but tomorrow, you tell me everything." Zanele gave a small, bitter smile like she already knew tomorrow might not come. It had been almost a year, but that night in Harare still played in Thandiwe's mind, like a movie she couldn't turn off. It was supposed to be one of the best nights of their lives. She and Zanele had been invited to a gala at one of the most expensive hotels in the city, the kind of place with marble floors that shone like water and chandeliers that looked like they were made of frozen rain. They had dressed up in glittering gowns, their hair and makeup perfect. Zanele had been the star of the night, as always, laughing loudly, dancing with strangers, drawing eyes wherever she went. But things changed after midnight. Thandiwe had seen Zanele in the corner of the ballroom, her smile gone, her face tight with anger. Standing across from her was the son of a powerful politician, a man known for his arrogance and his father's influence. They were arguing, not the kind of playful argument Zanele sometimes had after a few glasses of champagne, but something sharp, dangerous. Thandiwe couldn't hear the words over the music, but she saw the way Zanele's jaw clenched, how the man leaned in too close, his voice low and threatening. Then Zanele shoved past him, her heels clicking hard on the marble, and disappeared into the crowd. Thandiwe thought she just needed air, maybe a few minutes to cool off. She didn't follow. She wishes she had. An hour later, people started whispering. Some said Zanele had been seen slipping into a staff-only corridor. Others claimed they saw her running out the back entrance with something clutched under her arm. By morning, the story had grown. Zanele had stolen something valuable, something that didn't belong to her. No one could say what it was exactly, but the rumors were wild. A diamond necklace worth millions, a briefcase full of government documents, even a memory card with secrets powerful enough to destroy careers. The wealthy politician's son was seen later that night, red-faced and furious, making phone calls in the lobby. Thandiwe tried to find Zanele, but her calls went straight to voicemail. Her messages were never read. It was as if she had simply vanished from the city. In the weeks that followed, whispers turned into accusations. Some said Zanele had betrayed dangerous people and fled the country. Others swore they'd seen her in the company of men who didn't look like they were from the police, the kind of men who solved problems quietly. Thandiwe kept hoping for an explanation, a message, anything, but nothing came. The friendship that had been their whole lives dissolved in silence. Thandiwe told herself Zanele had chosen her path and left her behind. It was easier to be angry than to admit she was hurt, so she closed that chapter, built her quiet life in Maputo Hills, and tried to forget. But now, sitting in her kitchen, with the sound of rain still pounding outside, Zanele was here again, pale, shaking, clutching that blood-stained scarf, and Thandiwe knew the past wasn't finished with her. Zanele's eyes were tired, older somehow, like she had seen things that had carved lines into her soul. She didn't speak at first, just stared at her tea as if the steam could hide her. Thandiwe waited. Finally, Zanele lifted her head. "That night, at the gala, I didn't steal jewelry," she said quietly. "It was something else, something worse." Thandiwe felt her chest tighten. "Then tell me." Zanele glanced toward the window, as if making sure no one was listening. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I took proof of crimes, proof that could destroy one of the most powerful men in the country." Thandiwe blinked, unsure she'd heard right. "The minister." Zanele nodded. "He thought it was hidden forever, but I found it by accident, and I couldn't unsee it. That night, I argued with his son because he knew I had it. I left before they could stop me. Since then, they've been hunting me." Thandiwe stared at her friend, realizing the weight of what she was saying. The rumors, the disappearance, the silence. They weren't about theft, they were about survival. And now, somehow, Thandiwe had been pulled into the same dangerous game. Her heart thudded in her chest. She had no idea how deep this went. But one thing was certain. Whatever Zanele had taken that night was the reason she was at Thandiwe's door now, and it was the reason both of them might not live to see the end of this storm. The rain hadn't stopped. It was still lashing against the windows, a steady drum that made the air inside feel heavier. Thandiwe had locked every door, drawn every curtain, and switched off the outside light. She and Zanele sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the single bulb above them casting a yellow glow over their faces. Zanele's hands were wrapped around the scarf in her lap, her knuckles white from how tightly she held it. Thandiwe had so many questions, she didn't know which one to ask first. "You have to tell me now," Thandiwe said finally, her voice low but firm. "What is this about? Who is after you? And why do you have that scarf?" Zanele's eyes glistened, and for a moment, Thandiwe thought she might start crying. Instead, she took a deep breath, as if gathering the courage to speak. "I've been hiding for a year," she began slowly, "running, changing names, sleeping in bus stations, in strangers' spare rooms. Every day I thought they would catch me. Every night I dreamed they already had." "Who?" Thandiwe pressed. "A man," Zanele said, her voice shaking. "A man more powerful than you can imagine. A government minister. The kind who can make people disappear without leaving a single trace. He has money, influence, soldiers, police, everyone in his pocket. But I have something he can't afford anyone to see." Thandiwe leaned forward. "What?" Zanele's gaze dropped to the scarf. She ran her fingers over the dried blood as if it were a fragile piece of silk. "He has a child, a secret child. No one knows about her, not even his wife. The girl lives in another country, hidden away, protected by people who are paid to keep her existence quiet. I found out by accident, and I found proof." Thandiwe's eyebrows knit together. "What does that have to do with this scarf?" Zanele's lips trembled. The scarf belonged to her nanny, a woman who had been with the child since she was a baby. She was the only one who cared for her like a mother. A few months ago, the nanny found out something dangerous, about the minister's money and the people he deals with. She tried to warn someone. The minister found out. They killed her. Thandiwe's stomach turned. "You mean, that's her blood?" Zanele nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "I was there. I wasn't supposed to be, but I was. I saw them drag her into a room. I saw her fall. I grabbed the scarf because it was the only thing I could take. The only thing of hers that had the blood on it. It was proof she didn't just vanish. And I took something else that night. A flash drive she had hidden in her bag. It has recordings, documents, everything. Enough to bring him down if it ever reached the right people." Thandiwe's mind was spinning. The minister's secret child, a murdered nanny, and now her friend sitting here with evidence that could destroy a man like that. "Zanele, do you even know what you've gotten yourself into?" Zanele gave a bitter smile. "Every day since that night I've known. I also know that if he finds me, I won't live to see the next sunrise." She looked at Thandiwe with eyes that seemed both desperate and determined. "I can't trust anyone else. Everyone I thought I could trust has either betrayed me or is already dead. You're the only person I have left." The words hit Thandiwe harder than she expected. She had wanted answers, and now that she had them, all she felt was a growing, icy fear. The image of men in black suits knocking on doors in Maputo Hills flashed through her mind. They weren't searching for just anyone. They were searching for the woman sitting in her kitchen, and maybe for her too now. Outside, the storm raged on, the wind rattling the glass. Inside, the air was thick with secrets that could shatter lives. Thandiwe didn't know what the next move was, but she did know one thing. There was no going back to her quiet life, not after tonight. The morning air was damp and heavy after the night's storm. Thandiwe sat by the window, holding a cup of tea she hadn't touched. Zanele was still in the back room, her bag close to her side like it was part of her body. For a moment, everything felt strangely calm. Birds hopped along the fence, and a neighbor swept leaves from her yard. Then Thandiwe saw them. 3 black SUVs rolled slowly down the narrow street, their engines quiet but menacing. They didn't belong in Maputo Hills. These were shiny, spotless, and tinted so dark you couldn't see inside. The cars stopped halfway down, and 4 men stepped out. Their dark suits and polished shoes looked more like city business than rural dust, but their faces were cold, watchful. One of them carried a clipboard. Thandiwe leaned closer to the curtain gap, and her stomach flipped. They were holding up a photo. Even from this distance, she recognized the face. Zanele. Her hand shook as she hurried to the back room. "They're here," she whispered sharply. "The men you told me about. They have your picture." Zanele was on her feet instantly, her eyes alert. "How many?" 4. Maybe more inside the cars. They're going door to door. Zanele glanced toward her bag. "We can't let them find me, but I can't leave yet. The evidence has to be safe first." Thandiwe stared at her. "Zanele, They're literally walking this way. I know, Zanele said, her voice low but firm. If I run now, they'll still find me later. But if I hide the truth somewhere they can't reach, then even if they catch me, they lose. Outside, the men were just 2 houses away. Their polite knocks carried a sharp edge, the kind that didn't wait long for answers. Thandiwe's pulse raced. We have minutes. Then we use them, Zanele replied, slinging the bag over her shoulder. She moved toward the back door, her steps fast, but silent. The alley. Now! Thandiwe followed without another word, the sound of knocking growing louder behind them. As the door closed, the quiet street they left behind felt like it might explode at any second. The rain had been falling since morning, soaking the streets of Mabuto Hills until they glistened under the weak glow of streetlights. Inside Thandiwe's house, the air was heavy with silence. Zanele sat curled in the corner of the spare room, her bag at her feet, the blood-stained scarf hidden inside like it was something too dangerous to be seen. She barely spoke, only listening to the rain and the occasional sound of a car passing outside. Thandiwe paced the living room, peeking through the curtains every few minutes. Her nerves stretched thin. Every time she thought about the black SUVs and the men in suits going door to door, her chest tightened. They couldn't hide forever. By afternoon, Thandiwe had convinced herself they needed help, someone who could get them out quietly before those men came knocking again. Her mind went straight to her cousin Sifo. He had always been her safe place, the one who looked out for her when they were kids. He knew people, he could arrange things. If anyone could move Zanele to safety, it was him. When Zanele went to take a quick shower, Thandiwe grabbed her phone and stepped into the kitchen. She called Sifo and told him about the trouble, the men asking questions, how dangerous it had become. She left out the details about the evidence and the minister. She just needs a place to stay for a while, she said. Sifo's voice was calm, almost too calm. You did the right thing, Thandi. I'll come tonight. We'll get her somewhere safe. She hung up, feeling lighter, certain she'd done the smart thing. When she went back to the room, Zanele was watching her with sharp, suspicious eyes. Who were you talking to? My cousin Sifo, Thandi said. He's coming to help us. Zanele's gaze didn't soften. Do you trust him? Of course, Thandiwe replied. He's family. Zanele's voice was quiet but cutting. Sometimes family is the first to sell you. The words stung, but Thandiwe brushed them off. Sifo wasn't like that. The night came fast. The rain heavier now, pounding on the roof. Just after 9, headlights swept across the curtains. Sifo's silver car pulled into the driveway. Thandiwe rushed to the door before he could knock. He stepped inside, smiling like everything was normal, but his eyes scanned the house in a way that made her uneasy. Where's your friend? He asked. In the back, Thandiwe said, leading him to the spare room. Zanele sat on the bed, her bag at her side. This is Sifo, Thandiwe said with relief. He's here to help. Sifo smiled, but Zanele didn't return it. Before anyone could say more, there was a noise outside, footsteps in the rain, several pairs, moving closer. How did you know to come right now? Zanele asked, her tone sharp. I told you, Sifo said smoothly. I'm here to help. Then came the knock. Slow, heavy. Thandiwe froze. Sifo didn't go to the door. Instead, he stepped towards Zanele. It's better if you come with them quietly. No one has to get hurt. Thandiwe's voice shook. Sifo, what are you talking about? I'm protecting you, Thandi, he said softly. She's dangerous. You don't know what she's done. Zanele's eyes locked on Thandiwe's. Do you believe me now? The truth hit her like a punch. Sifo hadn't come to save them. He had brought the danger straight to their door. Bathroom window, Thandiwe whispered. Zanele moved instantly. They ran down the hall, Sifo shouting behind them. The bathroom door rattled as he pounded on it. Thandiwe shoved the window open, rain blowing in. Zanele climbed out first, dropping to the wet grass. Thandiwe passed her the bag, then followed, landing hard. They ran through the backyard, slipping in the mud. Shouts came from behind. Zanele led them into a narrow alley, their shoes splashing through puddles. The rain made the ground slick, but they didn't stop until they were deep in the shadows. Under the shelter of a tin awning, both of them stood panting, rain dripping from their hair. Thandiwe's chest burned, from the running and from the betrayal. I'm sorry, she gasped. I didn't know. Zanele shook her head. They have eyes everywhere. Trust no one, not even blood. Somewhere nearby, a car engine roared to life. They both knew the chase wasn't over. This was only the start. Zanele tightened her grip on the bag. From now on, she said, her voice steady despite the rain. "It's just you and me." This time, Thandiwe didn't argue. She had learned the hard way that the wrong trust could kill them. The train station was silent, the kind of silence that makes your skin prickle. The old roof leaked, drops of water falling onto the cracked tiles. Thandiwe stood in the cold, her breath making small clouds in the dark. Then she saw her, Zanele, stepping out from the shadows, her hood pulled low, eyes scanning the empty platform, like she expected danger to appear at any second. She walked up quickly and pressed a small flash drive into Thandiwe's hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling. "If I don't survive," she said softly, "tell the world." Her voice carried a weight that made Thandiwe's chest tighten. She wanted to ask where she was going, but Zanele was already stepping back. Before Thandiwe could say another word, Zanele turned and disappeared into the night, her figure swallowed by darkness. The station felt emptier than before. The next morning, the radio buzzed with urgent voices. The minister had been arrested. Evidence of his crimes, stolen money, a hidden child, even murder, had been leaked everywhere. Thandiwe knew it was because of the flash drive, because of Zanele, but when she tried to call, there was no answer, no messages, nothing. Then her phone buzzed with a single text. "They'll come for you next." Her stomach dropped. Outside, the street looked normal. Kids playing, neighbors chatting, but she could feel it. The danger hadn't ended with the minister's arrest. It had just begun.